What's up, guys? So in today's video I want to discuss 3 things that I do to prevent overeating. Okay, so because I know there was a time when I was trying to stick to my calorie deficit, and I was ending every night just freaking hungry. And the funny thing was, I wasn't eating in an extremely high deficit or anything. I was in a reasonably low deficit, but I was extremely hungry every night. So I know how that feels, and I did a few things that helped make it much easier. So I thought I'd share some of those things with you. So the first one, and this may be obvious, and it may be so easy to be just overlooked. I think many people overlook this. I know I overlooked this myself many times, and I just assumed that this wasn't me. And this is, and you've heard me say this before many times, so don't be shocked. This is getting in more protein, increasing my protein. I mean, I was taking protein shakes from the time that I could take protein shakes, and I was always worried about getting in protein, and I always thought I was getting in enough protein, but I actually wasn't. And when I started deciding that I needed to burn some fat and eat in a deficit, that was when I realized I needed to increase my protein even more. So don't overlook that. Now I aim for about a pound. If I can go over 1 gram per pound of body weight, if I can go over that's great. But that's sort of my minimum. I mean, I don't need that much, but that also helps keep me satiated. It keeps me fuller. So about 1 gram per pound of body weight, or 2 per kg, right, of body weight. And then that aside, I've increased my protein. I also, fiber, I've mentioned this one before. I try and make sure to increase my fiber content, but I won't even count that one. That's just like a little extra bonus there. Now, one thing you really have to take a look at or one thing I had to look at was my diet. How dense were the foods that I was eating? And I needed to just get a balance of the two, a balance of different kinds of foods. So I didn't need to cut out the tasty high calorie foods, because I was never going to stick to something like that. It would never be sustainable for me. I would always go back to eating foods that I enjoy, that are high in calories. So I needed to find sort of just a good combination between the two. Make sure I was adding in these foods that just help keep me fuller, these low calorie foods, and if I add those things in, I could still eat the foods that I enjoy, but I wouldn't eat too much, right? So that's one thing I did. So that I'd encourage you to do that. But now this is obviously different for everyone. It's easy to just do a little search and see what's low calorie foods, or low high volume foods. But what you need to do is, or what I needed to do, and what I did was, I did this, but then I sifted through and I chose the foods that I know I could eat on a more regular basis and actually not really get sick of. Because that's the problem, is eating foods that you enjoy. Before, I used to just go eat healthy foods for the sake of it being healthy foods, and not just foods that I enjoy. That makes it much harder to stick to. So I wouldn't advise that you do that, but try and find a balance between the two. So eat your favorite foods and eat those healthier foods that would generally be lower in calories, but have more micronutrients, have more vitamins, have more minerals in them. So add those in, add the ones that you enjoy. And then the third thing that I would say is making sure that I wasn't eating too low, that my calories weren't too low, because that is something that I did initially. So if your calories are in a slight, if you're in a slight deficit, so I wouldn't go over about 400. When I did go over that, like, things got really bad really quickly. So yeah, between 400 and closer to maintenance. I find the closer you are to maintenance, the better, because you can you can recomp, you can slowly burn some fat while building muscle. At least this is what I found. But my fluctuation in my body composition wasn't as extreme as what it previously was in the past, when I would be eating in a calorie surplus and bulking up, and then eating in a deficit and cutting down. And I always felt like I was gaining muscle with a big stomach, and then I'd lose it all and I'd just be like a little twig. And that would just happen, those extremities, all the time. I find if you're eating closer to maintenance, you get that gradual, consistent, or that's what happened to me. Was I was getting that muscular growth, and I was getting leaner as well. So try and not eat too low, and that will be my final tip, right? If you found this video helpful, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell notification, and that way you don't miss any of the videos, because I post daily. So I will see you tomorrow.